All right, everybody, welcome to episode 140 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL, and I'm with the co-host with the most, Drew at DR_PRA. Drew, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be back for round two of some of these team reviews.
Yeah, man. It seems like almost everybody is done. I think there might be some stragglers left, but I think for the most part, SFB drafts are completed. There's a rankings list going out. If I don't know if you've seen that or not. Um,
Yeah,
so,
it's a little painful.
uh, was your ranking painful, or just thinking of all the work that has to go into that?
Uh, more my ranking. I'm sure there was a lot of sweat equity put in, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things shake out.
Listen, I'll tell you the first year that I was in SFB, these rankings came out, and I mean I was probably, I think I was like bottom five in my conference. Like it was just like, yeah, this team is terrible and it's not going anywhere. And I made the playoffs. So it's one of those things where it's like anything can change between now and, you know, and even week one, never mind, between now and week what, 17?
Yeah,
Yeah, week 17. So um yeah, there is a lot of room to grow on these things. But let's get into the news because we finally got some news, man. There's a lot of moving and goings on now that training camp has officially started. I'm so happy to say that everybody's in training camp, everybody's going, and we're gonna go too. First bit of news: Josh Rosen signs with the Browns, and I put this on here because it seems like he's got a legit shot to be the backup as long as Deshaun Watson is suspended, and we still don't know how long that's going to be. But if you're in a deeper super flex league, you probably don't even have to waste a dollar of fab to get Josh Rosen. Most people don't care, but one Jacoby Brissett injury away from having a starting quarterback, and those are players that usually ended up getting traded for thirds, and you didn't even spend any fab on it. So, any thoughts
yeah.
about that one?
No, just yeah. I think some people put it out there. You feel for the guy. He's supposed to come in and have a shot at starting and stuff originally, and he's been bounced around. And somebody pointed out his Twitter profile picture versus the banner versus his description. And it's like,
Uh,
I'm confused for the guy, but hopefully he settles in and gets to do a little bit of what he wants to do.
for sure, for sure. Um, this next one, it's really unfortunate. John Mechie is going to miss the season with a form of leukemia. I didn't write it down because I knew I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. So, I mean, obviously, if you've probably seen the statement he put out already. If you haven't, you can go on Twitter or on Google and see it for yourself. But um, according to him, it seems like it's very treatable. So that's good news. But he's gonna miss the season this year. So I know a lot of people were using second round picks to pick up John Mechie. So kind of just be
Mhm.
aware, and we'll see if that leads to anyone else on the Texans maybe stepping up in his absence. Another rookie who's going to be out for the season, Justin Ross, who had an amazing rookie season or I shouldn't say rookie season, freshman season at Clemson, and then just injuries got him, and he got drafted to the
Yeah.
Chiefs. I know some people were hoping for the best with that, but it looks like those injuries still haven't fully healed. So he's going to miss the season because apparently, if you put somebody on the IR before, I forget what it is, before week one of preseason or something like that, or before the first round of cuts, I can't remember what the exact rule is. They're automatically out for the season, so he's going to
Oh
miss the
wow.
season. Did you draft any Justin Ross anywhere?
I've got a couple teams where I use like an early third, just take a shot. If I felt deep at wide receiver, or if that was
Right.
a couple of contending teams that I've got that I felt like sure went out. If he hits, he hits. But out of my 20 plus teams, or so, I think maybe two or three teams at most that I've got him on.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't have him on any of my teams, so but I know a lot of people were having him kind of as a sleeper at a rookie draft that could do something. Um, let's uh let's slide to some good news. Jameis coming off the ACL injury, participating in team drills, which is what you always want to see at this time of year when you have a guy coming off of injury. Obviously, the the Saints put some things around him, and you can say, well, maybe it's not around him,
Yep.
it's for the next guy, but they draft Chris Olave in the first round, give up a lot of capital to get him. They signed Jarvis Landry. Michael Thomas is on his way back. So some big moves there. So how do you feel about Jameis just kind of overall?
It's certainly boom bust. I don't have him anywhere. Either I wasn't willing to pay what people wanted during the last few months to get him, and I don't believe in him enough to pay up. Depends on the format of your league too. If you're in something like SFB where accuracy matters and consistency matters, unless he's just going to be your QB3 for bye weeks and you hope he's got that 4 touchdown, maybe 2 interception game that week. But I like the guy; he's fun to watch. But yeah, I don't have him anywhere because I haven't been willing to make a move for him at this point. But I'd love him in a best ball format. So I was actually need to take a look. I don't think I have him in any of the eliminators. This is where I should have probably gotten him if I was going to get him.
I like that. I like that thought though. Best ball is really where you want to grab them. Let's move on here. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edward, David Bell, among others that you probably have on your teams, or maybe we're looking to acquire, are on the pup. And just as a reminder, I'm sure everybody, if you're listening to this, you probably know it, but just in case you don't, preseason pup is unlike regular season pup. Literally, you can have a guy on pup today, off pup tomorrow. That's what preseason pup is. I mean, think Clyde Edwards-Helaire was on pup for like 2 days. Uh, Bellinger, the tight end from the Giants, was on for like a day or two. So obviously, you know, guys that are injured, coming off of injury, you would rather see them not put on the pup. But just remember that that can be very easily turned around the next day and they're not on the pup anymore. So um, here's one. This one kind of it hurts me in my heart a little bit. Um, Chris Carson retires. Obviously, we knew about the severe neck injury last year. I think he was trying to work himself back and see if he could do it, but um, I don't think that happened. And he decided that it would just be
No.
better for him to retire than to try to play and maybe do some further injury. Um,
Yeah.
I always liked Chris Carson. Chris Carson is kind of like Kirk Cousins to me. It's like the dude wasn't flashy, but he always got you points, and everyone always just seemed to kind of overlook him. He wasn't really talked about ever. Um, I know I had Chris Carson on a lot of teams over the years, so shout out to Chris
Yeah.
Carson, and thanks for the memories, man. I mean, there were some weeks where Chris Carson, man, was just in your lineup, and it's just like, hey, this RB2, and you never had to really worry about it. So, how
Yeah.
did you feel about Chris Carson? Were you a big Chris Carson guy, or
Yeah, I always enjoy seeing the underdogs, the guys that nobody expects anything from, come out and show what they can do. And he played a style that showed it looked like he just embraced what he had and loved every moment of it. So, and from what I understand, it looks like the Seahawks did right by him as well, and how they ended his time with the team. So he's eligible for some of the benefits with the CBA that's in place now. So good on them for as much crap as we give some of that organization. But good to see them do right by him, and hopefully he finds what's next and moves on to the next chapter of his career and whatever that's going to be here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hope all the best for Chris Carson. And then probably the main event, Julio Jones. We've been talking about him. Is he going to sign with the Packers? Is he going to sign with, insert wide receiver needy team here? He goes to a not wide receiver needy team, and he signs with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then reports came out a few days later that he might be inheriting some of Gronk's uh, targets, which I found very interesting. So, what do you think about this move? Does this do anything for you trying to acquire Julio Jones, or does it not matter? What are you thinking about this one?
I think I've got Julio on maybe two teams, and I'm interested to see what people will give me for him. I'm not giving more than maybe a third midway into the season if I just need some depth or something. If he's still healthy, I I don't know. He's either going after touchdowns if he's getting Gronk's routes, or he's going after a ring if he thinks this is his last shot with Tom Brady on the way out. Which I get that. I just hope he ends on a high note. Last year was definitely not the year I wanted to see him retire after. So I hope he gets some run. It'll be interesting to see him go back into his original NFC South division there. So be fun to watch him play Falcons again. But I mean, even his old Falcons team is a totally different look now. So, but yeah, I hope he ends well. I've always liked him since he came into the league, and hopefully he makes a good run of it this year. But as far as fantasy goes, I'll take him as a throw in here and there. If somebody just you want to throw Julio in and add it instead of like a fourth round pick or something, I'll take it.
Yeah, I I'm curious to see what Julio Jones is if he can stay healthy. Like everyone says, like he's washed, he's this, he's that. But have we in the last 2 years have we seen him healthy enough to really determine if he's even washed? I mean, he's been hurt, and that could be age, by the way. I mean that maybe that's a version of being washed, that
Yep.
he's older and he can't stay healthy. His body is not keeping up with him anymore. But if the Bucks work their magic and they can keep him healthy, I would be very interested to see what Julio Jones is now. So I'm not rushing
Yeah.
out to try to acquire him. I know in the FTC. Oh, okay. In the FTC, the fantasy timeline chat. Just remember, if you want to get in on that, just hit draw eye up in the DMs, or hit up
Hmm.
at fantasy timeline in the DMs and say you want to get in. It's a fun place to be. But our boy Bill McCarthy at Super Duperflex said, somebody in his league was, just spamming everybody trying to get a second for Julio Jones. And I'm not there yet, because as much as I say if they can keep
No.
him healthy, you know, I wonder what he is. I gotta first bank on him being healthy, and then I have to secondly bank on him being usable. And that could be very tough with uh we got Mike Evans, we got Russell Gage, and there's kind of been conflicting reports on whether or not Chris Godwin will be ready week one. So if he's ready week one, I mean, we're talking about what, the fourth wide receiving option.
Yeah.
That could be a lot. So
And maybe he's there just to hold over, right? Maybe he's there to get him through September until Godwin's 100%, and then from there
right,
he's depth or something.
right, and
But this is a
that
good.
is yeah. Let's hit this question up from Jesse Shaw. What up, Jesse? Um, how much percentage of Fab would you pay for him? So he could be on some waiver wires because he's been a
Yep.
free agent for 4 months now, pretty much. And he somebody could have just said, "Hey, man, screw this. I'm not dealing with it." Um, so Drew, why don't you go first? Percentage wise, what would you
Yeah.
want to
I'm.
pay in Fab to possibly get your hands on Julio Jones?
I'm throwing maybe 3 to 5% max out there to keep people honest. If I get him for 3, 4, 5%, and he's serviceable for a couple of weeks, fine. If he's serviceable for half the season, then great. You've got great bang for your buck. Or maybe it was fun watching in one of our chats here. I think it was Bobby. Bobby was talking about how he's taking some of these cheap fab guys and then turning them into more fab later.
Yeah.
Or late round guys that he's taken that end up hitting, and then he's getting more fab than what that pick might have been worth. So that's something that I'd look at as well. So you might be able to flip him for something a little bit better, or package him for something more. But yeah, I'm not throwing more than like maybe 3 to 5% out there right now preseason to hopefully keep people honest, and maybe somebody else has to go up a little bit higher. And but yeah, if you nab him for 3% or something, I'm fine with that. But I'm not going anywhere near 10%. How about you?
Yeah, it's tough because I think my tops would be 5%, but I don't think in the majority of the leagues that will win you Julio Jones. So then it really comes down to how much do you value Julio Jones for? How bad do you want him? If it's a must have on your roster, you're probably having to go 10% in a lot of leagues. And I'm talking just like out of every dynasty league in the world where Julio Jones is sitting on a waiver wire. You know what I mean? I know you and I, we play with a lot of sharp people. We play with a lot of analysts, a lot of podcasters, so on and so forth. But I'm just thinking kind of like the quote unquote home dynasty league where Julio Jones is sitting on a waiver wire. You know, you know, your cousin or your uncle or somebody was like, man, Julio Jones was good back in the day. If he's with Tom Brady now. I don't know if you saw the tweet where someone put Randy Moss's age 32 season with Brady and Antonio Brown's age 32 season with Tom Brady, and it was like both guys were well over 1,000 yards. Randy Moss was double digit touchdowns. I think Antonio Brown was like 8 or 9 touchdowns, and they're like, oh, well, he has magic with old guys. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going to be Julio Jones this year, but there's probably somebody in that like home league who's like, think about it. I saw the tweet. It could happen. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think 10% in a lot of, if we're talking about every dynasty league where he's available.
What about we're going to be an SFB review tonight. What about if he happens to be on waivers in your SFB league? What are you putting on him for this year? Let's say maybe you thought wide receiver was deeper, so you went heavy RB, heavy tight end or something like that, and wide receiver is not as deep as you wanted, or you're relying on some rookies right now in the later rounds, and Julio's just sitting there looking at you. What would you throw at him then?
If he's a have to have, like if I wake up tomorrow and I go, he has to be on my team. There's no way, no how he has to be on my team. I got to throw 10%. Because guess what?
Okay.
Every division is different. So you don't know if the analyst sitting next to you has some kind of breakdown where he's got Julio Jones going for 750 and 8 touchdowns. You don't know if a fan was an Atlanta Falcons fan their whole life or a Georgia Bulldogs fan their whole life, and they've just loved Julio Jones since Julio Jones was alive, and they want him. So if he's a have to have, I probably would throw like 3% and let the chips fall where they may. Um, but like, I mean, my last two picks were, well, barring my last round quarterback, were Jeff Wilson and Kenyon Drake. And I'm like, do I really want to drop one of them for Julio Jones for the fourth receiving option? I mean, those are two guys that are backup running backs that could definitely, you know, we know how often running backs get injured. Like, they could be starting games very easily.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
in on Zamir White as some people. And let's face it, the 49ers start almost every running back on their roster at least once
Yeah.
every season.
Sometime.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, Jeff Wilson is he's probably getting some burn at some point, during the season.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I
Yeah.
would drop either one of them for Julio Jones. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and the good thing, Jesse, is he said here he meant for Scott Fish. We don't have to make that decision right away either because the first round of waivers doesn't even run until September. So I think in most cases, unless like Josh said, you absolutely have to have him now to feel like you've got some better depth. I am saving a fair amount of my fab for late August. See where injuries go, see where some of the things shift around. So unless you really have, a beat reporter or somebody local that you really trust and they've got a good track record, then, maybe you want to sneak somebody a little cheaper now. I know a couple years ago, like my father-in-law was huge on James Robinson in his college career. So he was nabbing him on waivers for $0 in July. And that worked out great for him. So if you got, radar like that, go for it. But I'm not going to spend a bunch of fab at this point until I have a little better sense of what's going on, where maybe some depth starts shake out and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Jesse, when you get there, depending what your team looks like, if you need that extra receiver, then go ahead and be aggressive if you need it. But I think wide receiver is one of those positions that we feel like we can pretty well churn throughout the season, especially in a redraft league like Scott Fish. So I wouldn't throw a lot of it or commit a lot of it to him right now.
for sure, for sure. So we got through that, and I think Corey summed it up perfectly. He said, "Can't wait to hear round 2 of SFB 12 reviews." You know what? We can't wait to talk about it. So why don't we go round 2? We got so many of these, Drew, that it was like, how do we not do another round of this? Like, we're pretty much officially at the end. So let's do
Yeah,
this, man. Let's have
let's
some
do it.
fun. Let's have some fun with this. So this is our first one here from at Dynasty Legs. So, let me start this one off here. He went back to back with the quarterback in the first and second round. Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. Um, then just 3 straight running backs: Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Zeke Elliott. So he gets that Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott stack. And I do think Zeke Elliott is going to have a good amount of receptions this year with Amari Cooper out of town. Um, the top 3 wide receivers that he'll probably be starting every week: Jalen Waddle, Amari Cooper, previously mentioned, and Chris Godwin. If for some reason Chris Godwin can't go week 1, it's going to be Tyler Lockett, uh, T.J. Hawkinson as his starting tight end, and then let's see some, Chase Claypool. We'll go through some of the highlights here. Um, Tyler Boyd is another one. Uh, Donta Foreman, who I think will be the backup in Carolina. Odell Beckham, I like that stash pick there. Um, and Tyler Beatty in the last round. I mean, that dude might be the starter depending on what Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins look like before week 1. So um, I quarterback, I like Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Marcus Mariota. You know, I'm not a Jalen Hurts fan. It's been known, especially in a format like this, where accuracy is of the utmost. Um, Now the running could make up for that, but everyone keeps telling me that they're going to be more pass happy because they got AJ Brown. So we kind of can't have it both ways. We can't say the rushing will save the day, but they're going to pass more. It's got to be one or the other. Um, Running back, I like what he did here at running back. I know his RB4 is your guy, Drew. Devin Singletary, and I'm not going to say anything more about it because I know you will get me more information than that. Um, Wide receiver, um, like I like the depth, man. I like what you got starting, and I like the depth. And then tight end, you got T.J. Hawkinson. You got to hope for that healthy season though, because in the 21st round, Tommy Trumbull was taken, and if you got to rely on Tommy Trumbull for more than just a bye week fill in, it could get a little dicey. So what do you think, Drew? Tell me what you like on this team, what you don't like on this team.
Yeah, I like the quarterback start. Hertz is really more of a, if you believe in him, then that's great value. If you don't, then you probably had other options because they were QB 8 and 9. So that means maybe like Russ Wilson was there,
Yep.
Matthew Stafford was probably there.
Yep.
You had a couple other guys that could have been similarly valued, but again, if you believe in Jalen Hurts, then based on where you're picking, there's no way he's lasting till 301 either. So you gotta pick your guy and stick with him. So I don't hate it. I think I probably skew more favorable for Jalen Hurts this year in general than you do. So I don't hate it. I think that's a good upside play. I think there will be some weeks where your quarterbacks could really give you the push you need over the edge. Running back is solid. That starting four is really good for redraft this year. Who knows what will happen with Kamara? I don't know that we've seen much news recently about what to expect for him. But even if he does get suspended and you have to play Zeke as your RB2, or you're playing Cook, Zeke, and Singletary as part of your flex, that's a really nice stable of running backs to pick from week in, week out. And then, the depth on the back end is really nice as well. Wide receiver, I like it. I dig it. Tyler Lockett 1101 is fine. It's probably good value. I think I'm probably a little bit more hesitant on Tyler Lockett this year because of the quarterback drop in talent there. So unless they get somebody, I don't even know if there's anybody out there that could be on the move that I would feel better about him getting. But between Waddle, Cooper, and whenever Godwin's back, that'll be a solid starting three every week, I think. Claypool is a great fill-in if you need to start him for Godwin. And even Boyd and Parker, I think Parker could do decent in New England as well. Still another year with Mac Jones there. Belichick tends to bring the best out of guys that have been struggling in other places. And if he hasn't been cut yet, he must be doing something right in New England. I love Beckham. I guess that's a question. Would you rather have Odell Beckham or Julio as your dart throw wide receiver now that you know that Julio signed with the Bucks?
Odell.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what Odell could still be once he was put into an offense with a competent head coach. I mean, we saw that Super Bowl. I mean, he was on pace for like 300 yards in that game. I mean, there was nothing that Cincinnati could do to stop him. I mean, the only thing that stopped him was the injury. I mean, he was just all over the place. So yeah, if it was going to be, because I also can't believe that Odell Beckham, who might be out to like week 8 or something like that, is then going to sign with, Jacksonville. He's going to sign with a contender. He's going to sign with a team that has, a really good quarterback. So it's not this worry of, oh, what if he signs, in Detroit? What if he signs in, Atlanta? He's not going to any of those places. He's going to a contender when he's medically cleared.
Yeah. Knowing what I know today with Julio signing, that gets a little bit more difficult for me. Again, I guess depending on what your wide receiver room looks like, but I think I tend to agree. I'd rather have Beckham knowing that he's a little bit younger and still closer to a better performance. He certainly earned his ring back in February. I think tight end is definitely where there's some risk here, not having some more depth. But again, you never know. You could find the person that's going to be this year's Bob Tunyon from 3 years ago. There's somebody out there on waivers maybe that could fill in for a few weeks. And then, quarterback, the QB3 situation. If Hurts doesn't work out as well as you hope, then you hope that Mariota stays healthy. I don't know if Ritter is still out there. or somebody else picked him up, maybe package him somewhere along the way if you find out pretty early on that either you don't need your kicker or I don't know who else you drop right away here, but maybe Damian Williams. I don't know. So overall, I like the build. I think there's a good starting core in here for starting Prescott and Hurts. 3 of those 4 running backs any given week. Your top 3, probably all 4 running backs week 1, and then your top 3 wide receivers, then Hawkinson. So I like the team overall. Hopefully, a couple of guys come back strong and a couple other guys stay healthy. You got Dalvin Cook there that typically has had a few weeks that he's missed, but you've got the depth to fill in for that. So I like the build overall. I think this is a pretty solid team that should have a good shot at playoffs. How about you?
So you're going playoffs. You know what? Normally, a team that rocks Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota as QB 2 and 3, I would have to give a big thumbs down to. But oh my goodness, the rest of this team, man. I mean, there's not really a pick besides the 2 QBs that I don't like. I mean, and that's hard to say in a 22 round draft. But yeah, I think this is a playoff team. I think everywhere else kind of overcomes the lack of quarterback, so to speak. And yeah, I think it's a for sure playoff team, right now, today, July 27th. So, um yeah, good job, Dynasty Legs. You got this one. Let's move on to the next one here. This one here is from at FF Angie CMS. All right, so Drew, why don't you start this one off? Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Man. So this is unique from all the ones we reviewed so far. No quarterback until round 4 with Matt Ryan is bold. Um, but yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, again, another team out of the 112. So getting the early 3rd round reversal, which I think a lot of people would have expected to be a quarterback then.
Hmm.
But they rolled Najee. Ooh, running back is a little rough. Najee is your RB1 is fine. You got CEH, then Damian Harris is your RB2 and 3. That's a little risky to me. I mean, wide receiver is hard to argue with the top 4 with Pittman and Cook, so I feel pretty good there. Even AJ Green in the back half of the draft, could be decent early on if he stays healthy. You've got Hopkins out, so for the first 6-7 weeks, he could be a solid contributor. And then a guy we talked about, Jameis. So you've got Matt Ryan, Jameis, and Mitch Trubisky. A little risky here. I think Matt Ryan could be a back end quarterback 1 in Indy. They'll keep him upright. He's got a couple of weapons. Jonathan Taylor can catch out of the backfield. Tight end is Gesicki and Albert O with Tyler Conklin rounding it out. Yeah, definitely an interesting build, a little contrarian to where I think most people go in a Superflex tournament. Not my favorite build from what we've seen, knowing how important quarterback is, especially accurate quarterback. And then, running back, it's just going to be patching together whatever you can. So starting a lot of wide receivers, possibly 2 tight ends, depending on how Alberto does with Russ there. So yeah, I don't have as much confidence in this one for sure. Especially with the later QB, but maybe Jameis figures some things out this year, and maybe he's more of a 62% completion guy, and maybe he'll turn some things around, and he has that upside to really put some weeks away for you. But especially now that we've seen Michael Thomas back at practice, got some weapons there, but yeah, not the route that I would choose. I know you picked from the 112 as well, Josh. So what are your thoughts coming out of the same draft spot?
I will say that Angie has a lot more guts than I would have. I did come out of the 112 and I went quarterback, because, you know, she did get Matt Ryan at QB 17 at 412, which means that was the 48th pick and only 17 QBs were taken. I know that um I think 8 QBs were taken in the first round in my division. So I guess that all kinds of, what if at 112 6 quarterbacks were taken or 5 quarterbacks were taken? What if the 2 tight ends got taken? Uh what if CMC and JT got taken? It could have been a situation where she said, "All right, let's let's double tap and see where this goes." Uh I like the wide receivers, and I do like the fact that she did double stack. She got Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman. She got Jameis and Chris Olave. And, I mean, technically, you could say a triple stack if you want to count Mitch Trubisky to Najee Harris. We know Najee Harris was catching that ball last year like a madman. So, but running back is very, very treacherous. Najee, that's fine, but like you said, besides CH and Damian Harris, I mean the reserves are Marlon Mack, Darrell Williams, who's now the backup to James Conner in Arizona, and Damian Williams, who is the backup to it seems like a few people. So the depth is not there. But tight end, I kind of like that double tap at in the 11th and 12th round. Mike Gesicki, I mean, we're supposed to love this Miami offense, but Mike Gesicki is like nowhere to be found, and he was pretty good last year. Obviously, different offense. Tyreek Hill is in town now. There's about 400 running backs, but I still like Mike Gesicki for this year. And Alberto, obviously, he's been hyped up, and the hype has cooled off a little bit. But I do like tight end. Tyler Conklin is low key uh, a nice pick in the 21st round. Looks like he's been kind of leading the way, not CJ Uzama. So that might be a sneaky pick there too. It, this may be the first time, and Drew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we've seen 100 wide receivers taken in a division.
That is
Uh,
wild.
Getting Nick Westbrook Akine at the 22-12, the Mr. Irrelevant of of the Atlanta Georgia division, um, with wide receiver 100, which is crazy. But yeah, I don't think this team can make the playoffs. It's going to be tough at quarterback, especially if you hit an injury. If Jameis gets hurt again, you're running Matt Ryan and Mitch Trubisky, and I like Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is going to be good in this format this year. And honestly, I think Mitch will be fine. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I think he's going to start the majority of the games for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think you'll be fine there. But you are banking on my optimism of Mitch Trubisky, which is thing about this guy in Chicago who took his team to the playoffs twice with Allen Robinson, David Montgomery, and a bunch of Chicago substitute teachers. Now he's got Deontay Johnson. Hopefully, I know he's holding out. Chase Claypool. They drafted Pickens and Calvin Austin. They have Najee Harris. They have Pat Fryermuth. So this is by far the most talented set of skill position players he's ever played with. Um, but it is one of those things where, um, that's me. That's my rose-colored glasses on Mitch. Um, a lot of things could also go wrong for Mitch, so I don't want to make it seem like he's a lock at the spot. But Yeah, what do you think, Drew? And there you go. She said, I went that way because it seemed like the best route for me at the time. And that's the thing. We say this, I think, almost every time we review one of these. Every division is different.
Yeah.
A guy that goes in the first round in one division doesn't go to the middle of the second. Jalen Hurts is a guy in my division, didn't go to the middle of the second round, which a lot of people would be like, "That's insane, that's crazy." But that was my division. I know there were probably some divisions where he went mid first. Not
Yeah.
not mid second. So, um, obviously, we're doing this just for fun. We're doing this because it's a good time, but we're not sitting in every division, kind of mapping out like, okay, uh, there's a quarterback run here, or no one's taken a running back in a while. We're kind of going based off of one roster. But what do you think here, Drew? Is this team going to be in the playoffs, or is this team waiting for next year?
This for me is a team that I think will either make it pretty handily if things hit right. Um, some strong upside, really strong wide receiver core. If running back 2 and 3 are serviceable, if Najee does what he did last year, then I think this team either does really really well in the division, or I could see a couple of things that would throw a wrench in it here, and then they would miss it. Uh, by a good bit. I don't know that this is going to be a on the fence team from face value at this point, but that's the beauty of SFB. Like you said earlier, looking at the value based draft board that's out there now, we have no idea where anything will land. But based on what I'm seeing so far, like you said, a lot more guts there, Angie. Good for you for going against the grain a little bit and taking the value that came to you, and hopefully it works out well.
Yeah, shout out, and actually shout out to everybody. If you put your team on here and say, "All right, let me know what you think," you're brave, because there's a lot of people who probably saw that and said, "Not me, man. You're not gonna tear my team apart. You're not gonna talk bad about my strategy." So, good on everybody who did it up. But let's hit this next one here. At Renshaw Fantasy, another 12. I put this in the 12s chat, and the 12s just
Man,
came through. They were like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's
good group.
let's let's give these guys some content." Um, I'll start
Woo.
this one here. Uh, the 1-2 double tap, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. I will say, these two guys have the same bye week, and I was honestly going back and forth about Russell Wilson and Tom Brady in my division, and that was literally that tiny crack of the tiebreaker that I use, because I love both of these guys in this format. So, um, Renshaw, he didn't care. He said, I'll take the L 1 week possibly. Um, but he double taps a quarterback. Then he hits up Dalvin Cook, Javante Williams, Alvin Kamara in the next 3 rounds. Uh, I also did Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. I think my only difference was I took Joe Mixon, I believe, was the guy I had there instead. Um, and then follows it up with four straight wide receivers. Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas. Uh, he rounds out the tight end room by taking his first tight end at 12-12, Evan Ingram, 1501 Brevin Jordan, 1901 Daniel Bellinger, and then 2012 Dan Arnold. Um, I I like the starting lineup of this team. Like, I really do. Um, just I just like it all over the place. Now I will say Michael Thomas at 901, I don't like. Like, I don't. I worry about a guy who has not played for 2 years.
Hmm.
That worries me, especially when that team went out and used the first round pick and traded a lot of other picks to get Chris Olave. And I'm not an Olave guy, but they're going to try to put him out there and try to pepper him because the cost says they have to. And they signed Jarvis Landry.
Hmm.
And if Alvin Kamara doesn't get a suspension this year, you also have Alvin Kamara out there. So that was a pick I didn't like, but depth wise, I mean Melvin Gordon, you know, not only are you handcuffing, but Melvin Gordon was good last year. He was the whole reason why people were slightly down on Javante because they were like, well, it was a 50-50 split. I mean, obviously, new team, new offense, all of that. But I think that's some good depth there. You know me at 14-12, Kenny Galladay, number one wide receiver for the Giants. Let's go. Like, let's do this thing. Um, and then some other guys. I, I, and you may laugh at me for this. I like Renshaw's last three tight ends more than I like his first tight end. I really do. If I had to rank these guys, I would put Evan Ingram fourth, but um I think a really good job here. What do you think, Drew? What do you like? What do you dislike about this team?
I'll start with what I'm not a fan of. Justin Tucker, I don't care how consistent he is at the end of the 10th. Um, Knowing that Evan Ingram was the 21st tight end there, I still would have taken a shot at, I don't know, whoever was maybe tight end 15 to 20
Right.
at that pick, probably. Because, yeah, I am not an Evan Ingram fan in general. It doesn't help that we see a video of him today in training camp dropping an easy pass, but that's everybody's gonna throw that stuff up there. But
Just doing his thing.
Ingram gonna Ingram. But
Hmm.
running backs are solid. I like Cook, Javante, Kamara. I'm fine with Melvin Gordon later on. It's one of those things. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Do we prefer, our starters backup or somebody else's format like this? Because Gordon is good enough, I think it makes sense. I'm fine with Rojo. I could flip a coin between Ronald Jones and CEH in Kansas City. I think I actually ended up with Rojo on my team because I was pretty thin at running back. Not a fan of Gallaudet. I mean, we talked about him a few weeks ago as well with the Giants and who we think could or should have an opportunity there. But McLaurin, Sutton, Godwin, Thomas, it seems good on paper. I picked up Randall Cobb late as well. Hard not to take the guy that probably starts with the most trust with Aaron Rodgers. Just a lot of, for me, face value here, a lot of Denver guys on this team. So you're expecting a lot from the Broncos this year between their starting quarterback, their backfield, and presumably their wide receiver one. So maybe they do. I know we've talked about this division. There should be some shootouts there, so there'll probably be some high scoring games, and hopefully you get the right combination for the right weeks when you need it. But yeah, the starting quarterbacks I like a lot. I like Dak. I like Russ as a pair. I like Jimmy G as your third, as QB 32. I think that's a solid pickup there and way to wait for that quarterback. But yeah, I think my biggest beef is with Justin Tucker at the end of the 10th instead of whichever tight end would have been there. Even if it was, for me, I don't know, Irv possibly there. If you'd gotten maybe, I'm trying to think of who else could have been. Who knows? Maybe at that point, unless people are totally crazy in your league, maybe you've gotten somebody like a Dawson Knox around there or something, or an Alberto. But at that point, I would have taken Alberto instead of Melvin Gordon. But yeah, I think like you said, the starting lineup looks really solid until you get to the tight end part, and that's pretty clear where they decided to give a little bit with this team. And then we'll see how Michael Thomas works out. We'll see how soon Chris Godwin's back. I did like our first team better having a couple of other guys like Claypool or Lockett that they could start for Godwin. I'm pretty much out on Michael Thomas as well. But yeah, good front end here, and then some interesting picks in the back half that could work out really nicely as well.
All right, so here is the big part, the big decision we get to make for every team. Is this team in the playoffs, or is this team gonna say better luck next year. I
I
think
think
this
they've
team.
got a good chance at it. I would give them probably a 70% chance of getting in.
Yeah, I like this team. I like the depth of this team. Um, Alec Pierce is an interesting play there in the 16th round.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I like the depth of this team. I like the starting lineup of this team. I think they're in it as well. I think that they're going to I think they're going to enjoy their SFB season. But here you go. There's one team that I want you to take a look at and tell me what you think. This is very important here. Let's
Hmm.
put this up here. All right. I don't know if you can see that, Drew. I think you can.
Hmm.
Some
I sure can.
some dude named at Real Fantasy TL. Guy probably doesn't even play fantasy, but here you go. You can give me an unbiased look at my team. What do you like? What do you not like? Actually, I'll read through some parts of the team, kind of the starting lineup, and then you can pick apart what you like and dislike. So I did what a lot of 12s did, and I hit the double tap at quarterback at 112 and 201 with Dak Prescott and Tom Brady. Um, my starting running backs will be Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. The starting wide receivers will be T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, and Devonta Smith. T.J. Hawkinson starting at tight end. Um, I even threw a kicker in there just to appease friend of the show Lindelians, and I got Harrison Bucker in the 14th round at 14-12. All right, do your worst, Drew.
All right. First things that I'm looking at, running back. I think you and I approached similarly. We got a couple of decent guys on the front end, kind of more of a, I don't know if you want to call it a modified hero RB, and then
Mhm.
waited a little later for some depth. Which, as long as, again, you got a couple guys that have some built-in risk between health and or suspension. We'll see how Pollard does. I'm excited to see what the split looks like this year. I think most accounts are saying that Zeke is in good shape and ready to carry the majority of that workload. But Pollard any given week could rip off 4 for 80 and a touchdown or two. So like him there. Wide receivers look good to me, man. I am jealous of everybody who got T Higgins in the fifth. Um, I ended up taking Chase, his teammate, at 301 because I wasn't sure if Higgins would make it. And of course, since I took Chase, Higgins was sitting there looking at me at the end of the fourth and the early fifth.
But I
I
think
could have
that's a
had him.
great I think that's a great value. Chase at 301, like
I hope so.
that's kind of criminal to me that 20 24 guys were taken ahead of him. I mean, I'm not saying that he should have been 101, but all right, keep going.
Yeah, so I like the wide receiver room, man, with Higgins, McLaurin, Devonta Smith. I like Jacoby Myers. I like taking a shot at that New England offense between Myers, Parker. Those are probably the first two guys that I'm looking at. And then, of course, Dynasty, you look at, God, why can't I think of the kid's name that they picked up this year? Fastest kid at the combine, right?
Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, Tyquan Thornton. I got him in a couple teams. Interesting. Curious to know who is around at that turn where you picked up Tyler Boyd as well, since you double dipped on Cincinnati there.
I did. I felt like his I felt like that was too low for him. It
Yeah.
wasn't really the intention, but it was one of those things where I was looking at it and I was saying, "Boy, I feel like the 55th
Yeah.
wide receiver seems a little light to me." And I get it. You know, the other guys in front of him are obviously going to feast. We like those guys a lot, but here we go. let's look at which wide receivers went after him. Um, the next wide receiver didn't go to 1307. That was Kenny Galladay.
Mm,
1310 was Kadarius Toney.
mm.
1311 was Mecole Hardman. So that's kind of those
Yeah,
are the next three wide receivers that went.
nice.
Um, Devontae Parker went at 1403.
Okay.
So that's
Because yeah,
kind
you
of
already
like
had Myers, so yeah, and I like your young. I like the Pickens and Wandale Robinson picks in the 18-19. I think those are a couple of nice dart throws for rookies to add depth. So I like the wide receiver room a lot. I like the tight ends. I like Hawk. Gesicki is your tight end too, and then Brevin Jordan's tight end 3, especially knowing what we know about John Mechie now. And
yeah.
so you got Brandon Cooks. You'll have Nico Collins in his second year. So we'll see. And then I like that stack with Davis Mills as your QB3. So QB looks solid. Running back, a little bit of risk, but a lot of upside for the first two. So I think that'll kind of be the catalyst to see where your team goes. Wide receiver week in and week out, you're going to have great options. And tight end feels good. Kicker to throw in if you need to for a flex play. Um, but yeah, overall, top to bottom feels pretty well balanced. And yeah, I think the risk is really at running back. That's where I chose to take some risk as well with my team this year. Uh, but playing the waiver wire, see what happens. And yeah, like you said earlier, it's possible that Kamara could avoid suspension for all year, and he could be a great value at the end of the fourth for a lot of teams that got him there. Or even in some other drafts that he was going into the fifth. So um, I think that's just something different because I play in so much dynasty, trying to retool my brain each summer for redraft and
Yeah.
figuring where I want to take some of those risks. Especially in a league like this where there's no trading, it's just add
Yep.
drop and pure fab. But yeah, I think running back will be kind of the telltale for you as the first few weeks unfold. If Cook and Kamara are playing and healthy, I think you rattle off a pretty good record for the first few weeks here, and then once you hit bye weeks, kind of seeing what those combinations look like. But I feel like it's pretty safe to say you've got a good shot at going 3 for 3 on playoffs this year.
Oh, I like that. This team definitely. It's so funny because it hit a lot of the notes that I was hoping to hit. And it followed the build that I was hoping for it to hit. But um, I got Hawk. I felt like Hawk fell way
Yeah,
further
that's
than
a
he
whole
should have.
round or two later than most people took him, I think. And who are tight end 6 and 7? I feel like he's usually going tight end 6 or 7.
Let me
Tell me
let
somebody
me.
jumped up and took like Dalton Schultz and Dawson Knox before him.
Oh, I know. I mean, I shouldn't say I know, but I'm almost positive that Dalton Schultz went before TJ Hawkinson, which is fine with me. Let's see. So that was 612. Zach Ertz went at 608.
Okay.
Um, let's see. I'm just kind of scrolling here. Doesn't make for the best. Dalton Schultz went at 510.
Okay.
So a full round
Man.
before TJ Hawkinson and even Zach Ertz, who I like a lot,
Yep.
going, you know, a few picks before him. I feel like is one of those things where um, you kind of fall off. But
Yep.
then Dallas Goddard didn't go until 708. So I'm not as high on Dallas Goddard as some people are.
Yeah.
But I feel like that might even be a little late for him.
Yeah. Which
I
you got your guy Devonta Smith there too, so you got a piece of the Eagles offense
I
if they're
like
gonna be
hey, I, people keep laughing at me when I say let's not just anoint AJ Brown as the dude and no one else gets any because Devonta Smith was a 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie last year.
Yep.
He has chemistry with Jalen Hurts, obviously. Now, AJ Brown can get in there right away and instant chemistry and those guys click right away. But we see it a lot of times. First year new offense, doesn't look as good as we hope it does, and it's not going to be year one for Devonta Smith. It's going to be year two, same offense, same quarterback. So um, I don't want I keep telling people, don't think that it's just going to be AJ Brown to the moon, and the rest of these guys are going to suffer because AJ Brown's in town. So let's hit this next one here. What happened here? My share screen thing went away.
That's all right. While you
Yeah, bring.
figure that out, I'm gonna actually make my exit here. Feel free to take a look at my team if you feel so inclined. If you want to compare
We'll do
notes
that.
there,
We'll do that.
give the listeners your view without the pressure of me staring at you here on camera.
It's all
I
good.
look forward to seeing and hearing the notes afterwards. But yeah, we've got some guests in town, so I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter tonight than usual. But look forward to picking up next week with our guest and seeing what we've got on the slate for then.
Man, I'm excited, man. Go have fun with your guests, and thanks for another great week, man. It was
Absolutely.
so much fun, man.
Totally. Thank you again for everybody who shared. And if we didn't get to your team, we'll definitely try to leave some comments in the Twitter thread if we haven't already. So have a good night, folks. We'll talk soon.
All right. So we're gonna go solo now. Just me breaking down at Topher K44's team. Topher is in the capital of the Hunger Games division with me. So a lot of fun. Great guy talking. He was right behind me, so we were going back and forth at every other round. But uh, let's hit this up. Christian McCaffrey at 111. Interesting pick. I'm worried about the health with Christian McCaffrey, but you know what? In 1902, I I feel like a very smart move. Got got Deonta Foreman, who I think will be the backup. I don't think it'll be Chuba Hubbard. Um, he'll be starting Antonio Gibson along with Christian McCaffrey. So I think a lot of risk there at the starting running back spots. Rashad Penny is RB3. We know he has health concern. I like the Madison pick because at any time Dalvin Cook can be hurt, a guy that I took, and Alexander Madison can be a decent starter. 202 Russell Wilson, love that pick. Great pick, Russell Wilson. It was a guy I think I would have taken at 201 if it wasn't for the conflicting bye week of Dak Prescott and the fact that Tom Brady was still hanging around. Um, and then waited late for that QB2. So at 902 and then at 1011 went Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. I think Jared Goff will be just fine this year. Um, a lot of weapons in town. They're bringing back Amon-Ra St. Brown. They drafted Jameson Williams. They got DJ Chark in free agency. They'll have DeAndre Swift. They'll have TJ Hawkinson. So I think Jared Goff will be all right. Um, then the starting wide receivers for this team: Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, and Deontay Johnson. That's not a bad starting three at all. And then, looks like Topher's build here was wide receiver heavy because um, Amari Cooper, the aforementioned Amon-Ra St. Brown to pair up with Jared Goff. Tim Patrick, who I love at 1411, was a guy that I was looking at in that area. I actually think if Topher would have went another direction, I think I had him lined up at 1412 if I'm remembering correctly. So that's a great pick as well. Jalen Tolbert, I mean, that guy might be a starting wide receiver for Dallas week one, depending on what Michael Gallup looks like. So I love that pick as well. And then obviously uh, he took John Mechie before the news came out. Odell Beckham, we talked about that earlier. Love that pick. And then the second to last pick, Curtis Samuel. Maybe he and Carson Wentz can get something going, and that's a nice late double up there. And then tight end, Bob Tanyan at 1211, and Evan Ingram at 1702. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm also miss Austin Hooper at 1502. Um, Man, this is an interesting build because I feel like there is a lot of there's a lot of risk in the starting lineup. Christian McCaffrey's health, obviously, if he stays healthy, I mean, dude will probably be on a lot of the teams that make the finals. Um, and Antonio Gibson, it just seems like for whatever reason Washington doesn't like him. Uh, they re-signed J.D. McKissick, actually outbidding Buffalo, and then they draft Brian Robinson. Um, but the receivers are nice, man. QB1 is nice. But I think there's too many question marks here. I think Topher, unfortunately, I don't think this team makes the playoffs. But the thing about it is that if the high upside guys hit, like what if we're all wrong about Antonio Gibson? Like, what if they just decide like week 3, oh hey, this guy, this guy's really good. We need to stop trying to make this a whole running back by committee. Like I said earlier, if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, there is some upside with Jared Goff. So, yeah, I don't think it can make the playoff. I don't think this team can make the playoffs. But the thing is that crazy things can happen. I mean, last year I took Davis Mills literally uh as Mr. Irrelevant. I had the 12th pick last year as well. And I was in the playoffs. I made the semifinals. So anything can happen. Anything can go on here. But you know what? Drew said, "Hey man, take a look at my team. Tell me what you think." So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna head over there and not be zoomed in on my big ugly face. And here we go. Bring this up. So this is Drew's team. So 111, Jonathan Taylor. Good for you, man. I mean, I don't know how many divisions he made it to this point in the draft. Um, he's the only non-quarterback that I would have taken with one of my first 2 picks. I knew I was going quarterback, quarterback. I don't know if Drew was thinking the same thing, and then he got Jonathan Taylor and said, I can't let this slide any longer." Um, but Jonathan Taylor at 111, then waits until 611 to get J.K. Dobbins at running back 2. Risk there. If J.K. Dobbins is healthy, you're good to go. I think you have a great 1-2 punch. If he starts the regular season on the pup or he misses the first couple of weeks because of, he's still trying to get back, you know, now your wide receiver 2 is, Ronald Jones, who might be the starter in Kansas City. Who knows? Or Brian Robinson. Uh, so there's some risk there. Quarterback 202, Russell Wilson, loved the pick. So I feel like even though the first 2 picks weren't maybe the traditional quarterback, bang bang, love the first 2 picks. And then 502, Mac Jones. What a what a good quarterback for this scoring system, this scoring setup. Guy's going to be accurate. He's not going to make a bunch of mistakes. He's not going to fumble the ball a lot. He's not going to throw a lot of interceptions. If you're not getting one of the top guys, this is a great guy to have as your QB2. And then at 14, or excuse me, 10, 11, Zach Wilson, another high upside guy, and then 14, 11, Kenny Pickett, high upside guy. So if you have an injury, you have some risk, but you have some upside as well. The Jets have done a lot around Zach Wilson. They drafted Elijah Moore last year. They use a top 10 pick on Garrett Wilson this year. They signed two tight ends in free agency. They get themselves CJ Uzama and Tyler Conklin. They draft Brees Hall in the second round. I mean, they have really kind of told everybody, like, we're going to do everything we can for Zach Wilson. And now Zach Wilson's got to go out and prove it. Kenny Pickett, all the same stuff I said about uh, Mitch Trubisky, you can say the same thing about Kenny Pickett. It's going to be a lot of great weapons there. And then let's get to these wide receivers. So the starting three: 302, Jamar Chase; 411, Jalen Waddle; 702, DK Metcalf. If Jimmy Garoppolo ends up being the quarterback in Seattle, but man, DK Metcalf, that stock is going to go way up, and it is a nice three pack there with Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf. And then right after that at 8-11, Devonta Smith. So just the top four is like, wow, good for you. And then tight end went later, Mike Gesicki at 902, Hunter Henry, the touchdown monster from last year at 1102. And then I know it's Drew's favorite tight end at 1302, Noah Fant. I like I like just there's a lot of upside there. I think Mike Gesicki is going to do well in the Miami offense. Um, Hunter Henry, obviously, he was the red zone guy for Mac Jones this year, and I don't think they really drafted themselves another red zone threat. So you can probably expect to see a lot more of the same thing this year. And then Noah Fant. Again, what if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback? That's going to help Noah Fant as well. So um, I like the upside that you have there, and I like kind of some of the built-in with Hunter Henry touchdowns that you're going to get. Uh, Threw in a kicker at 1702 with Matt Gay. You get anything from the Rams offense, I feel like you're doing a good job. Um, let's see some of the depth. Jahan Dotson, I like that pick. Uh, Shout out to Bobby Koch. Really kind of showed me the light on Jahan Dotson when I was unsure about whether I liked him or not. Another Bobby Koch guy, Wandale Robinson in the 18th. He Drew and I had similar thoughts at around the same time of the draft with Wandale. Dearness Johnson at 1902, like that pick. There's been talk about Kareem Hunt possibly getting traded, Dearness Johnson possibly getting traded. So 1902, this could end up being a steal, especially if he ends up being the backup running back in Cleveland. Miles Gaskin, I mean, I probably wouldn't have drafted him under any circumstance, but you never know in Miami. It could be 100 guys. Uh, you know, it could be 100 guys, and it could end up landing on Miles Gaskin. Randall Cobb, Drew mentioned it a bunch of times. Get me the guy that probably has the best relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Sammy Watkins went on, I think, the non-football injury list or one of the lists. And then, obviously, I feel like Drew had to end his Scott Fishbowl getting at least one Buffalo guy. So he ended up with Zach Moss, who I don't think will be a factor for Buffalo this year. But I get it. You gotta get your Buffalo lucky charm there. Um, I think this is a playoff team. I think we're going to be talking about Drew in the playoffs. I like the starting lineup, and there is a lot of depth upside, which is like, when you have 10 guys, 12 guys that are going to be your bench, like a couple of those guys just kind of statistically are going to hit, if you have 12 options, two or three of them, the upside is going to hit. You're going to be happy about it. And the good news is, a guy like Zach Moss or a guy like Miles Gaskin, who maybe I don't really like, those are the first guys that you probably cut when, James Robinson comes back, for example, and he's starting to look good, or you know, I'm trying to, maybe, Zeke Elliott gets hurt and Tony Pollard will probably be on the team. Um, but yeah, kind of when those guys come out of nowhere and blow up, those are the guys you drop. So yeah, I think this is a playoff team. I think Drew and I will be talking a lot about what we're doing in the playoffs and how we're attacking it. Um, so on that note, you know what? I think I'm gonna get out of here. I want to thank everybody who was in the chat. Chat was a good time. Angie was in there. We had a good time taking a look at her team. Jesse, Corey, Mr. Scampers, love that name. That's a great name. Thank everybody for coming in and posting in the chat questions, comments. It's always a good time. Um, and if you're watching us right now, please hit subscribe. Please hit the bell. Please leave a comment. That all helps us out so much. Um, Listen, if you're doing the podcast thing, hey, appreciate you. An hour and 16 minutes is up what we're at right now. You stuck around. You listened to us talk about Scott Fishbowl teams. Uh, it's a lot of fun for us, but we do it for you guys. So, um, if someone maybe recommended it and you're listening to us and you like it, please hit subscribe. Um, if you're already subscribed, don't hesitate to rate and review if you can. It helps us out. It helps us reach more people. And on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. And since I don't have anybody to say late this week, I guess I have to do it late.